Before time was recorded, there are two things that have always been and always will be. Two energies, known as Arcana and Ren. The Ren energy was embodied into two types of entities, known as shepherds and monarchs. This was dependent on the nature of the Ren. These entities created the seven realms known as the Void, Heaven, Hell, Mid-Realm, the Far Side, the Sanctuary, and the Forge. They formed the creators and used the Arcana to create emulsion. With these powers, the creators made the races of mortals and the gods that ruled over them. They created a league of angels to rule over the blessed souls that go to heaven. One turned greedy, attempting to overrule the rest, and in return was locked into hell. His name was Voss. They also created a queen to rule over the cosmics of the void, known as the Dark Queen. A crystal god of elements ruling over the sanctuary known as Treva. A god to guide the souls to heaven or hell after leaving their bodies, known as Death. A god of power and battle called Valre. And a goddess of life watching over the far side known as the Arbiter. After this, about 200 years passes until mortals start banding together and actually recording history. So, welcome to the LoreWars podcast and preview stream. My name is Doug Carlson. I am your host and dungeon master, and I'm actually solo today. I have no one accompanying me. This is due to some scheduling issues because I am leaving in like 3 days to leave the country for a while, and my this is the only time I could be able to sit down and record this episode. But that is all right. In our story, Mr. Ram was knocked unconscious in the last fight, and Dew and Oros were building a fire, reminiscing about their reminiscing about their fights and gathering some experience and getting their level ups. So we can actually talk about that first, about what kind of level abilities they get and so on and so forth. And hopefully through this, my cast will be prepared for the next time we venture further into the mansion. So I know that my lovely Oros is a binder of the Steam Mech race, and I believe, if I have my levels correct, they should be hitting level 5, or maybe no, level 3. I'll have to check here. Let me open this up for y'all. we go to campaigns, we go to Ring of World PDF. Let me scroll on up and see what level they should be at this point. Here we go. I believe they'll be up to level 4 or 3 right now. I think they're at just level 2. So we will read through those abilities right now. I believe they're up to level 3. So we'll go through those. So at level 1 they get their basic attack. And that would be with their starting weapon. So for instance, Oros the Steam Mech, who is a binder class, he gets these engravings on him that allow him to cast magic as his weapon, and so he got those stats. And then at level 2 he gets a major called Vector Arrow, which does base times 3 damage, and it can reach out 5 spaces with a casting roll of 1 to 10. At level 3 he gets a minor action called Vector Arrow Wrap, which he wraps his vector arrows around people and holds them still, and that's a casting roll of 1 to 10. If he's a level 4, he will get Vector Arrow Push, which is a minor action, and he can use his vector arrows to push somebody back 3 spaces while dealing basic damage. So, yeah, that'll be for him. If we skip ahead a little bit to the Shadowrunner, I believe is our what Ram is. Want to say he's a Shadowrunner. He might be a Shadowbender. I would have to ask him. But we can run through both just for the demonstration of the game. At Shadowrunner, he would get, or at both Shadowrunner and Shadowbender, he gets a basic attack. So the Shadow, okay, so yeah, he's the Shadowbender because he uses a gauntlet for his weapon, which is, he has a little piece of armor, let's say, on his forearm, which has magical and carvings on it, and this will allow him to cast unique spells as well, and he uses it. In our role-playing aspect, he shoots like shadowy bolts from it to attack people. And so that'd be his level 1. At level 2, he gets a minor action of Shadow Eye, where he can summon an eye from the shadows, and he can actually see through that eye. So this will help him do recon in dark rooms and so on and so forth. At level 3, he would get a minor action of Illusion Spell, and that's a casting roll of 1 to 10, and you can make minor illusions. Make a door look like it's part of the wall, or making, a double of himself. Now these illusions will be broken on contact, if somebody attacks them or casts a spell on them. But, can be pretty useful. And then at level 4, as a minor action, he will get Shadow Morph, where he can physically morph his body into a shadow. And that'll be a casting roll 1 through 10. So yeah, and let's move on to the lovely Dewdrop, who is a Siri, and she is a Rose who uses, so her level 1, she gets to use tarot cards. She has a deck of cards. Presumably the cards can do different things depending on what card she uses. But at level 1, she'd be throwing, these cards, and they turn into like purpley magic bolts and hitting people. And that would be her basic attack. At level 2, as a major, she gets her Explosion card, which it's funny that I'm reading this now because she's been using it as a minor action, so we'll have to correct that. But her major action, Explosion card, gives fire aspect to 3 spaces, so she throws a card, it explodes, and she can guide the explosion into 3 spaces, and that would be a major action, so we'll have to tell her that. At level 3, she gets a passive ability of Healthy, which is a plus 25 HP just to her base HP. And then at level 4, she gets Magic Prowess, which is another passive that gives a +1 to Arcana, her Arcana skill. So, yeah, these will be their levels 4s. I think they'll be up to level 3, but in case they've gone up to level 4 already, that will be their level 4 abilities. So, while Ram is waking up, Dewdrop asks Oros, because she lost her memory, a little about the world. And so Oros is going to tell a lovely story to her, narrated by me, about some of the lore. So this is a little story leading up into something we already know, kind of. But this is about the creation of dragons and the story that kind of led into the fall of the Rai Empire. So, originally, the creators who kind of created the rest of the realm, they created their first attempt at creating deities were the 5 gem dragons. And these 5 gem dragons were they're called gem dragons because they look like massive dragons of different styles, and they have a giant gem embedded in their bodies. And this gem was made of emulsion and harboring an incredible spell circuit inside of it. Now, these are by far the most powerful dragons, and on their power scale, they would be an X, which we can talk about the power scale in a little bit. But there is a power scale built into the guidebook. Now, if we talk about the 5 gem dragons, okay, they again were the first attempt at deities. The creators created them, and then they didn't really work so well, so they tried again at a new thing. But the most famous and most well known is Vexel. Vexel is a large Chinese styled dragon, very long and serpent like, with his gem adorned on his head. And his gem allows him to slip in and out of the realms, as well as stay like in between the realms and like almost like nothingness, or in the void, like not the void as in the realm, but like in a void between realms. And so he's most famous because he believes that he has owned a realm, like he owns a realm. Now, rumors and stories and myths could tell that before Treva was created, because the 5 gem dragons were created before the gods, he originally was living in the sanctuary, but then was kicked out or just left, and then they created Treva, and now Treva owns or rules over the sanctuary. And so that could be why he has a grudge, but myths and stuff we don't know yet. But so anyways, he assaulted the sanctuary, and a large faction of knights at the time called Dragon Castle pushed him back. They fought against him, and nearly all of them were wiped out except a handful. But they pushed him back out of the realm. And that's why he's kind of one of the most famous, is because he is quite powerful and did an entire pretty much assault on a realm. Now, because of that, a small religious group has popped up, and these followers of Vexel believe he is the rightful owner and rightful ruler of the sanctuary. And so when you create a character in LoreWars using the original guidebook, you can pick Vexel as your religious or deity that you follow, and you will get a bonus through that, and you can actually like roleplay the idea that like Vexel is the rightful owner, and so he's not necessarily good or evil, though I believe he is an evil deity in the game. It's kind of perspective, but he is definitely like conquestial, where he believes, the sanctuary is his rightful home. But if you look at some text, he believes that all realms are his because he has the power to slip in and out of them. And so I think that's what kind of adorns him as an evil deity. But let's move on to the next gem dragon. So the next gem dragon is a Lutra. A Lutra is probably the second most well-known dragon. She was this large pink dragon with a I believe she's like European themed dragon. Now she has a large pink gem adorned in her chest, and her ability, her gem, gave her the ability to look into different futures and outcomes, and this kind of gave her the nickname as the Oracle Dragon. Now, she was she teamed up with a kind of unknown hero of the Rai Empire. And when the Rai Empire shifted into the Grey Empire because of the Prince Zadashi killing his father and taking over, Aludra, the Gem Dragon, saw this happening and saw that if it continued, it could possibly destroy the realms, and that it was doomed to be a terrible, terrible event. And so what happened was there was an uproar. The Crimson Uproar is a famous event in history where the citizens of the Rai capital of Avrai started attacking the royal palace, and the 7 legendary swordsmen, which were like Prince Zadashi's personal bodyguards, excuse me, the 7 swordsmen, which were his entourage, his bodyguards, they slaughtered hundreds of people as Zadashi fled the city. And as he fled the city, Aludra came down and assaulted him, killed him. But before she could leave, the 7 swordsmen attacked her and actually slayed her. Now, which is weird, is that the gem was missing when she went down to fight Zadashi and the 7 swordsmen. They didn't see the gem inside of her body, and now her body is being guarded by her servants, and the gem is supposedly guarded by that hero who kind of left the Rai Empire before it shifted and told her and like kind of became her guard. And so it's supposedly he has the gem somewhere and still uses it to kind of defend the realms. It's just kind of a myth that is told. But you actually get to learn a lot about that in one of our campaigns that is planned. The third gem dragon, which is Chronocelius, is the third most well-known dragon. He had the gem of time and was able to time travel in between time eras. He has only been seen once by mortals, that is recorded, and that was for assaulting the clock tower in Blackgate. So a very famous mage in Blackgate was building a massive tower with the ability to time travel, or so he claimed. And a large dragon appeared from nowhere and destroyed it, and destroyed the mage, and then vanished again. And so the idea is like that he doesn't want anyone else to have the power to travel time, and mortals shouldn't be able to alter time. He's very wise, very neutral, and Some say he's a good friend of the god of death. But the what's interesting is that the mage who built the clock tower, he had an apprentice who took some of that power, and supposedly after the attack, he created an island with the rest of the followers of that mage, and this island shifts through time at a constant rate to avoid Chronoselius, and that in one of our adventures you get to explore this island a bit, or the idea of the island at least. And so yeah, that's the third gem dragon. The fourth is Draco Malus. Now Draco Malus is just a myth. To our knowledge, within our stories, you haven't been able to see him. You don't know if he's real. But Draco Malus is supposedly the father of all dragons. His power was to create spawns of himself, and it is said that he created the entire dragon race following the 5 gem dragons with his gem. Now this is everything from Dreadmauls, which are big, nasty black and red dragons that a party could fight in the end game, to Dragonkin, the actual race of playable characters. And so he's responsible supposedly for creating the entire dragon race. And then finally is Silva. Now Silva is the dragon of life, and it is more of a myth that this dragon exists than Draco Malus. Now Silva was the dragon of life, and it is said that they reside under the far side realm, giving it its eternal power, and teamed up with the Arbiter, the goddess of life, who lives in the far side. And that's how that realm flourishes. And what's even more rare is that the tears from this dragon will give you eternal life. And so this rumor has caused many treasure hunters and beings who want to live forever to try and find this. Some would say like the spring of eternal life, to become immortal. And there's rumors that some lesser gods and deities have found it, or lesser beings, and become lesser gods because of this. But yeah, that's more rumor than anything. And so we look at these 5 dragons as the first attempt at deities, and the one story, like I said, kind of sticks out most is the fall of the Rai Empire, because the Rai Empire was the first empire to kind of rule over all the living realms that you could, or have footholds in each of them at least. And it was very unified. And then the story between Zadashi is kind of what we're going to lead this into. Zadashi was the prince of the Rai Empire, and the royal sword instructor was Zaracroft, a very powerful stone soul who taught everyone in the royal palace swordplay. And he saw that after the Rai Empire turned into the Grey Empire, Zadashi killed his father, took over, and Zaracroft was kind of forced into training these 7 swordsmen. And after he saw kind of where the empire was headed, he left Avra, left the empire. He defeated a labyrinth, got a Jinn equip weapon, and then he found Lutra, the gem dragon, told her where he came from, his story. Lutra looked into the futures of the now Grey Empire, and saw that it could destroy the realms. And so what she did was take out her gem and task Zaracroft with guarding it as she goes and deals with it, trusting that he will be her champion and carry on her life line. And so he did so, and his location and the gem's location is unknown at this point in the story. But the gem dragon flew to Avrai, and created a mass hysteria, which led to the flying over the city and kind of acting menacing. So the people started attacking the citizens of the empire started attacking the capital palace when uh, the seven swordsmen stepped out and just started slaughtering people because they were getting too close to it. Their numbers, however, were overwhelming, which made Zadashi leave the capital. And as Lutra saw this, she swooped down and just completely destroyed him. And shortly, following them were the seven swordsmen, who their power was quite powerful, like quite immense, and they were easily able to overcome the dragon, especially without her crystal, because that's where the power comes from them. Where she, in a battle, she may be able to predict their powers, but she certainly wasn't the strongest battle type of the dragons, the gem dragons. Um, she was more of the oracle. She told heroes and stuff what to do, but she took it upon herself. She might have not been the smartest and wisest of the gem dragons. We have some art I can show up on screen, and I'll actually use this as the thumbnail for my people who are watching or going to watch. I'll use it for the thumbnail. Let me see here if I can pull it up really quick. I have a ton of these. Here we go. Whoops. So the art I just pulled up on screen is a clip of Prince Zadashi being confronted by the gem dragon, and you can see the big hole missing in her chest is her power. And so I will use that for the art for our thumbnail. But yeah, so these stories and more are things you can read about in the guidebook. And so I highly recommend getting the guidebook and being able to read through all these stories and more, and kind of piece together the universe yourself. We have a detailed timeline throughout the entire guidebook, and what's interesting is that the campaigns we have planned are part of that timeline. So like you can read through history, and then you can also play through the history as our campaigns release. With the one of them being Ring of Worlds that we're playing right now with on the stream. We have that picked out for in our timeline. You can read through the events that happen in Ring of Worlds and then play through them in the Ring of Worlds campaign, which kind of adds a real like world building effect as you are part of the world that's being crafted, because you can play these major events. So I would definitely recommend, getting a hold of the guidebook, pre-ordering it, and being able to read through those things. I will touch on that after at the end of the stream, though. So, yeah, with the story that Oros tells Dewdrop about gem dragons and about the end of the Rai Empire, Dew's memories kind of are getting a little unhazy, and we can talk about that when she comes on the stream, and she can talk a little bit about what she remembers now, which we have planned. So let's with that, I'll say that Ram starts waking up, and the storytelling comes to a conclusion, and if you want, imagine, in my mind, I imagine Sean doing Oros's voice for all this detailed storytelling, which could be really funny, and that we can go further, into what you guys could do for us is to get your pre-orders in for the guidebook. To do this, you can either message me directly on Twitter. You can go on and message on our stream, or on our website in the store page. you can, there's at the bottom, there's a little box that shows you, and actually I can bring that up right now as well. Let me pull that up. So if you look at our website here, if you flip over to the store page, or it's called the market page on ours, you can see we have a release date, we have the what we're allowing, and then at the bottom here, submit your pre-order. Tell us to tell me which one you'd like and who you are. So you just fill this out and hit the submit button. When you're done, that sends me an email that you want to pre-order, and then I will get back to you. If we're now actually while we're on our website, you can see I've updated it a little bit. We put our release date out, which is June 12th. I also added a calendar page to the website. This calendar site shows you what day we're on, and you can click forward and see what events are coming up. If you look, March 14th, which may move to the 21st. March 20, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the 14th. We have our Magic the Gathering tournament over at Game Cave. So that will be something you can come check out. You can meet Miss Dewdrop in cosplay. You can play some Magic, and yeah, have a good time. I don't think it's going to be 9 to 10 p.m. We'll have to look at that again. But that'll be at the Game Cave. You can put in pre-orders through the Game Cave during that event. You can win some money for the store. You know, have a good time. If we flip further into June, we have our release date out, and then we also have the next day is actually free RPG day, which I've talked about at Casual Dragons at noon. I don't know why, again, it says 4 to 5. But at noon, we will be doing a, I'll have to adjust that. We'll be doing a demo of the game. You guys can come out and play that. I will have a different person doing dungeon mastering other than me. The one shot that we're doing is really cool, actually. It's coming from Ring of Worlds campaign later in the story. And so you can come play that. You can make a character. We have a demo handbook that I've written up, which will give you the choice between 4 of our playable races, each with 1 class, and a very kind of limited character creation. Just to give you a taste of the game, but you can sit and play. I also have a 3D map that I'm making for that, so it'll be a very neat event. I'll be there. This probably won't be dungeon mastering the game, but yeah, you can come check out our website. We've updated it to add these things into it for you. The release date's on there. That's how you pre-order for people who don't know, and you can see the calendar to see events coming up. I do have more events. I have UBCon I'm trying to get into. I have a couple other Lincoln Con, I believe, or Lincoln event, something like that. I'm getting into. I have free RPG day, Flower City Convention, Comic Con I'm getting into. I have a bunch that I'm applying to and trying to get into. So hopefully, though once we get accepted into those, I'll put them on the calendar and you can come see them. I'm going to adjust these times, so keep an eye out for those. But yeah, the other way, you can find our website, I should say, other than typing in the address, which is annoying, is if you go to Twitter, which I will bring up here. Oh, that's Twitch. You can go to Twitter, find us, which is at LoreWars RPG. Right here, you can see our thing at LoreWars RPG, and our website's linked right here. Like I said, I have to get premium Wix so I can get a better URL. But it's carlsondouglas.wixsite.com/my-site. That's the Wix address they give you until you buy premium, unfortunately. But it's linked here in my Twitter, so you don't have to type all that in. Just go follow us on Twitter, and then you can go to our website and download those free LoreWars wallpapers that are on our website as well. And you can see on our Twitter, we have like the guidebook, what it's going to look like when you order it, the 3D sets that I'm making, and the process of those for the tabletop free RPG day event, and our demo that we'll be using at all conventions. Really, you can see those things there, and also through our Twitter, you can see like when we go live and when we release videos and such. For the for this event, you will see that, or so when we release our games, we will also have the Seal of Fate adventure being released around the same time. So you can keep a lookout for that. That's a prequel to Ring of Worlds, which is what our players are playing in this stream. And so make sure you get a look at that. And yeah, thank you guys for coming out. Sorry this is a short one and a little bit of a storytelling one, but I want to get you guys some content before I leave the country for a little bit, and trying to get you guys excited for the game itself. If you want to support us, we go on Twitch first live, so follow me there if you want to watch the show live, and follow me on Twitter at LoreWars RPG to know when we go live, because our schedule is all kinds of funky right now with all this work that I'm putting into the game and like outreach and doing events and stuff like that. So if you want to watch us live, all the mess ups I do and stuff like that before editing, you can follow me on Twitter. I always tweet right before we go live, and you can watch us on Twitch. And that's at I can actually pull that up right now. That is at twitch.tv/LoreWarsRPG. If you want to watch us on YouTube, we're on YouTube. Just look up LoreWars RPG. We upload all of our streams up to YouTube first, and then after that they get put onto all your podcast sites like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, and more, Anchor, Radio dot something FM or something like that. There's a bunch that they get uploaded to. I highly recommend using either Anchor or Apple Podcast. That's how I listen to my podcasts. And also we have an ad if you listen through those, which helps bring in some revenue to the game. So yeah, thank you guys for coming out, and I hope everybody has a good 2 weeks while I'm away, and when I get back, we will hopefully get back on schedule with making content. Have a awesome day, guys and ladies, and I hope you get in contact with me for your pre-orders, and I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Have a good day.